In this demonstration, we will discuss Access Data's FTK Imager and how to carve data from an image file. FTK is short for Forensics Toolkit. FTK Imager is a commercial forensics imaging software package that enables an investigator to access and view digital information. We will be using it to find, highlight, and carve out a JPEG file. FTK Imager comes in a graphical user interface version or a command line version. Now let's get started with FTK Imager. For this demonstration, we will start by adding physical and image files as evidence items. This will allow us to look at the data in its raw hex format. FTK Imager allows 4 types of sources. You can connect a physical drive, a logical drive, mount an image file, or look at the contents of a folder. First, we'll select a physical drive to add to the evidence tree. And then we'll select physical drive 1. Notice that the FTK Imager displays the partitioned and unpartitioned parts of physical drive 1. Next, we'll add a DD image file. We select the image file radio button, and then we select this file to work with a raw DD image. Notice that FTK Imager does not recognize the file system of the DD image. This is because it's a sample file with just image types for viewing. Next, we will add a VMDK file from a virtual machine. This will enable us to look at what a Windows file system looks like in this application. This is a Windows 7 disk from a virtual machine. If you look closely, you'll recognize the folder names from Windows. Here's the unallocated space on the rest of the drive. Here are the orphan files. These are temp and deleted files. Next, we'll discuss data carving. But before we start, there's some information to cover. In order to find certain types of files, we'll have to know what it is we're looking for. All files have a certain set of starting characters, or a header to denote the beginning of that file. For GIFs, they are the ASCII hex values for the letters G, I, and F. That's 47, 49, and 46, followed by a version number 87A or 89A. JPEG files have a header of FF, D8, FF, E0, and a footer or ending sequence of FF, D9. PNG files have a header of 89504E470D0A. We will use these values to search out a file from one of our evidence items. Let's search for a JPEG in the DD image. We will use the hex values FF, D8, FF, E0 to search for the beginning of our JPEG file. Now let's find the end of this file using the footer FFD9. Sometimes you'll have to look through multiple footer sequences to find the true ending to the file. Here's the end of our file. It's at 1BD7920. Notice the next section of zeros helps us to see the true end of the file. We will have to do some hex math to carve out this file. We'll subtract the address of the beginning of the file from the address of the end to get the correct offset value to carve out the JPEG. Now, we'll use the starting address to move back to the beginning of our file. Next, we'll use the byte offset value we calculated to highlight the entire length of the JPEG file. Then we'll name the file test1.jpg and save it to the images folder. Taking a look in the folder, we see that we've successfully carved out a JPEG photograph. In this demonstration, we've shown how to load and view multiple data sources using FTK Imager. We've also showed how to manually carve a JPEG out of an image file.